Some of you can feel it already. This isn't just a phase. This isn't just a moment. This isn't a temporary spark that's going to burn out the second life gets real. What you're feeling has weight to it. It has steadiness. It has the kind of quiet seriousness that doesn't need to scream to be true. And that's exactly why your mind is unsettled. Because when your heart is being trained, the old version of you starts losing control. Angels say, God is preparing you for marriage with someone younger. Your heart is being trained, not trained to chase, not trained to settle, not trained to panic when peace arrives, but trained to recognize maturity, honor boundaries, and build covenant without letting fear or people's opinions drive your choices. Subscribe now and stay connected, because training doesn't happen in one emotional listen. It happens through consistent renewal, and when the pressure comes back, and it will, you need a voice that pulls you back to truth before you self-sabotage. Something God is shaping in you. Now breathe and let this enter gently, because this message is not here to push you into foolish decisions. Sits here to stop you from making fear decisions. God trains the heart before He entrusts a spouse. Because marriage is not just love, it's leadership. It's responsibility. It's a home. It's legacy. It's two people becoming safe for each other under real pressure. That's why you've been feeling stretched in ways you couldn't explain. God isn't taking your peace. He's removing your addiction to chaos. Some of you used to mistake intensity for destiny. You used to think the butterflies were confirmation. You used to think anxiety meant passion. You used to think mixed signals meant mystery. And you learned the hard way that adrenaline can be a trap. So God begins to retrain what attracts you. He starts making you crave consistency more than chemistry. He starts making you value clarity more than thrill. He starts making you respect discipline more than sweet talk. And that shift feels strange at first, because your old self was wired to chase what didn't choose you fully. Your old self was wired to overgive, to keep people close. Your old self was wired to tolerate uncertainty because it felt normal. But the new youth's trained heart can't romanticize confusion anymore. That's why certain behaviors you used to excuse now irritate your spirit. That's why you can't laugh off disrespect anymore. That's why you can't pretend you're cool with it when you're not. That's training. And it's important, because when God prepares you for marriage with someone younger, the enemy tries to distract you with one question: but are they mature enough? And sometimes that question is wisdom, but sometimes it's fear trying to use age as a shortcut, because age is easy to judge, while character takes observation. So God trains your heart to stop using shortcuts. He trains you to read fruit, respect, accountability, consistency, self-control, communication, integrity, effort, peace. Those things matter more than a number, because you can be older and still unstable, still inconsistent, still emotionally childish, still irresponsible, still dishonest. And you can be younger and carry discipline, humility, emotional intelligence, and serious intentions. So your heart is being trained to recognize maturity in the form God sends it, not only in the form society expects. That's why you've been learning to stop listening to the loudest voices and start listening to the clearest patterns. Now here's the second way God trains your heart. He strengthens your boundaries, because marriage with any partner requires boundaries. But where there's an age difference, boundaries become even more important, so the relationship doesn't become imbalanced. God is training you to stop overfunctioning. He's training you to stop carrying people as proof of love. He's training you to stop rescuing, fixing, financing, planning, and doing all the emotional labor just to feel secure. Some of you were praised for being strong, but that strength became a habit of carrying what should be shared. And God is changing that in you because covenant needs partnership, not dependency. You are not being prepared to parent a spouse. You are being prepared to build with a spouse. So He's teaching you to say no without guilt, to slow down without fear, to ask for clarity without shame, to require mutual effort without apologizing, to stop giving spouse benefits to seasonal behavior. That is heart training. Now, the third way God trains your heart is by healing your relationship with time. Because some of you rush because you're afraid of wasting time, and others avoid because you're afraid of being hurt, but both come from the same place, fear. God trains you to move steadily, without rushing to prove anything, without retreating to protect pride. He trains you to let time reveal character. He trains you to watch patterns instead of reacting to moments. Because anyone can perform for a week, anyone can be charming for a month. But marriage requires endurance. Marriage requires consistency under ordinary days, stressful days, tempted days, tired days. So God is making you patient enough to observe and strong enough to hold. Stand us while observing. This is why you've been feeling like you're learning to breathe through uncertainty instead of trying to control outcomes. That's training too. And here's the fourth way God trains your heart, and this is the one that stings. He confronts your fear of judgment. Because if your spouse is younger, people may talk. Some will be genuinely concerned, but many will just be loud. Some will judge without knowing the fruit. Some will make assumptions about motives. Some will try to embarrass you. And God is preparing you not just to be loved, but to lead a home. A home cannot be led by public opinion. A home cannot be built by people-pleasing. A home cannot be protected when outsiders have a microphone in your mind. So God trains you to stop outsourcing discernment. He trains you to stop over-explaining your peace. He trains you to stop shrinking your joy to make other people comfortable. He trains you to stop giving details to people who don't protect you. He trains you to choose privacy without shame. Because seeds don't grow under constant touching. They need a safe environment. So if you felt yourself becoming more private lately, not secretive, not deceptive, but private, that may be God teaching you to protect what's being built before it becomes public. Now let's bring this to real life, because you're not listening for poetry, you're listening for transformation. Have you noticed how your tolerance is changing? How you don't find inconsistency cute anymore? How you don't want almost anymore? How you don't want to decode anyone anymore? That's not you being difficult. That's you being trained. The version of you God is preparing for marriage cannot be controlled by insecurity. And this training shows up in the way you start choosing peace, even when peace feels unfamiliar. For some of you, peace used to feel like something is missing because chaos was your normal. So when God brings a calmer kind of partner, sometimes younger but mature, your spirit relaxes, but your fear starts searching for reasons to run. Fear says, this is too calm. Fear says, they're younger, it won't last. Fear says, people will laugh. Fear says, you'll regret it. But fear is not discernment. Discernment is calm. Discernment observes. Discernment asks honest questions and watches honest responses. Fear accuses without evidence and rushes you into extremes. So your heart is being trained to stop making decisions from fear and start making decisions from fruit. And fruit is visible. Fruit looks like they show up consistently. They honor boundaries. They communicate clearly. They are accountable. They have direction in life. They don't just talk, they follow through. They don't just promise, they prove. They respect your time. They protect your dignity. They don't treat you like an option. They don't love you loudly in private, then hide you in public. Fruit is not vibes. Fruit is pattern. And God trains you to require pattern. Now, you might be thinking, why would God prepare me for marriage with someone younger, specifically? Because it forces you to build correctly. It forces you to stop leaning on appearances. It forces you to stop leaning on what people approve. It forces you to stop using age as a shortcut and start using character as the measurement. It forces you to communicate about real life instead of floating in fantasy. It forces you to build boundaries and maintain balance. It forces you to check whether the relationship is partnership or dependency. It forces you to become a wise builder. And God does not entrust legacy to an untrained heart. That's why this season has been reshaping you. And let me speak directly to the listener who feels stretched right now, like you're outgrowing old habits, outgrowing old tastes, outgrowing old types, outgrowing the need to be understood by everybody. That stretch is preparation. That discomfort is growth. That I can't do what I used to do, feeling is maturity being formed. You're not becoming colder. You're becoming clearer. You're not becoming harder. You're becoming healthier. And the reason God is training your heart is because marriage requires you to stay steady when emotions spike, when outside voices rise, when pressure comes, when misunderstandings happen, when timing tests you, when family opinions try to enter. The relationship, when social noise tries to become spiritual doubt. Your heart is being trained to hold peace without becoming passive. To hold standards without becoming harsh. To speak truth without becoming controlling. To love without losing yourself. And here's where the training becomes very personal. The moment you realize the connection is serious, your fear will try to turn seriousness into sabotage. Seriousness triggers vulnerability. Seriousness triggers the urge to control. Seriousness triggers the old defense mechanism that says, pull back first so you can't be hurt. And if you don't recognize that voice, you'll start treating a good thing like it's a threat. You'll become distant. You'll become suspicious. You'll start testing instead of communicating. You'll start rewriting meaning into small things. And none of that is required for love that is meant to be built. What's required is maturity. So the training is teaching you a new response. Pause before you react. Pray before you accuse. Clarify before you assume. Observe before you decide. Because the heart that can do that is the heart that can build a marriage that lasts. And as you keep practicing these new habits, something strong will happen inside you. Your peace will stop being fragile. Your standards will stop being negotiable. Your discernment will stop being emotional. You will stop needing to be coached by pain. You will stop being moved by every opinion. You will stop shrinking your joy. You will stop labeling your future as risky just because it looks different. And you will start building like someone who believes God can actually be good to you without apology. without panic, without overexposure, without fear. And that's exactly where God wants you. Not fearless because you're naive, but fearless because you're trained. Not confident because you ignore reality, but confident because you've learned how to read fruit. Keep boundaries and move with wisdom even when your emotions rise. Because let's be honest, when God starts preparing you for something real, the training doesn't feel like fireworks. It feels like pressure in places you used to avoid. It feels like your old habits getting exposed. It feels like the parts of you that used to run, chase, overgive, or shut down, getting confronted. And that confrontation is love. That confrontation is protection. God would rather train you now than let you enter a covenant still bleeding in silence. So here's what's happening in your life right now. God is teaching your heart to stop confusing familiarity with safety. Some of you grew up around instability, so inconsistency felt normal. You got used to emotional unpredictability, so you learned to perform for love. You learned to read moods, to keep peace, to over-explain, to overgive, to fix, to carry. And when love came with calm, your body didn't know how to rest in it. Your body kept waiting for the switch. Your mind kept looking for the trap. And you called that being careful, but it was actually your nervous system refusing to believe peace could be yours. That's why God is training your heart. He's teaching you that healthy love doesn't require you to suffer to prove it's real. Healthy love doesn't demand you lose yourself to keep it. Healthy love doesn't make you beg for basic consistency. Healthy love doesn't punish your boundaries. Healthy love doesn't feed you confusion and call it depth. And sometimes, yes, sometimes God chooses a younger spouse candidate because your old pattern was attached to people who looked mature but behaved childish. People who had age but not integrity. People who had status but not stability. People who had words but not follow through. People who looked safe to the public but were unsafe in private. So God interrupts the pattern. He brings a person who might not match the crowd's expectations, but matches heaven's priorities. Character, humility, consistency, accountability, peace. And suddenly you're forced to grow, because you can't hide behind appearances anymore. You can't hide behind this looks right. You have to build right. That's training. Now listen, this training is not only about choosing the right person, it's about becoming the right partner. Some of you want marriage, but God is training you to carry marriage. Because marriage will expose anything in you that is still ruled by fear, pride, control, or insecurity. It's one thing to say, I want a spouse. It's another thing to be able to stay steady when conflict comes, when misunderstandings happen, when money is tight, when family pressures rise, when temptation appears, when your feelings fluctuate. God trains you so you don't collapse under normal human moments. So let me show you what heart training looks like in real life. So you stop thinking you're losing it and start recognizing that you're leveling up. You used to react fast. Now you pause. You used to text in anger. Now you breathe. You used to assume the worst. Now you ask for clarity. You used to over-explain. Now you choose peace and privacy. You used to chase. Now you require mutual effort. You used to tolerate inconsistency. Now your spirit gets uncomfortable. You used to ignore small disrespect. Now you address it calmly. You used to get pulled into gossip. Now you protect your seed. You used to beg for reassurance. Now you look at fruit. You used to confuse anxiety with love. Now you're learning peace is proof. That's training. And the moment you start showing those new habits, you'll notice something else. Not everyone will like the upgraded version of you, because the version of you being trained for covenant will stop being easy to manipulate. You'll stop being easily pressured. You'll stop being easily guilted. You'll stop letting people's opinions sit on the throne of your mind. And that will irritate the people who benefited from the old you. So God trains you to handle criticism without losing your softness. Because if your spouse is younger, the criticism can be loud. People may come with jokes disguised as concern, questions disguised as wisdom, warnings disguised as love. And some of it may be genuine, but a lot of it will be insecurity or control. The training teaches you this. You don't have to argue with every voice. You don't have to prove your relationship to spectators. You don't have to hand over evidence to people who are determined to misunderstand you. You protect your peace, you protect your partner's dignity, and you let time and fruit do the talking. That's training. Now here's the part most people ignore. God trains your tongue too. Because when you feel judged, you're tempted to become sharp. You're tempted to become defensive. You're tempted to clap back and put people in their place. But God is preparing you for a marriage, not a battle. So He teaches you to respond with quiet strength. Quiet strength says, I hear you, but I'm not discussing this. Quiet strength says, I understand your opinion, but I'm following. Peace. Quiet strength says, I won't allow disrespect toward my relationship. Quiet strength says, I don't need your approval to build my home. Quiet strength says, time will reveal what is real. A trained heart doesn't waste energy on unnecessary fights. A trained heart protects focus, because covenant building requires focus. Now let's make this deeply practical. If God is preparing you for marriage with someone younger, one of your biggest responsibilities is to ensure love doesn't turn into imbalance. So God trains you to watch for partnership. Partnership looks like shared responsibility, not one-sided carrying. Partnership looks like mutual effort, not one person constantly proving. Partnership looks like accountability, not excuses. Partnership looks like communication, not emotional punishment. Partnership looks like respect that doesn't change when emotions change. Partnership looks like both people having a voice. Partnership looks like both people carrying weight. If the person is younger, but spouse level, they will not come into your life to be raised. They will come into your life to build. They will show initiative. They will show consistency. They will show emotional regulation. They will show humility. They will show growth without defensiveness. And if you are the older one, your training is this: don't turn your experience into control. Sometimes older partners get tempted to correct everything, to manage everything, to teach constantly, to treat the younger person like a student instead of a teammate. That kills intimacy. That builds resentment. God is training you to lead with honor, not superiority. To speak with gentleness, not domination. To guide with wisdom, not to micromanage. And if you are the younger one listening, your training is this: don't turn respect into dependence. A younger spouse candidate must still be stable, still be responsible, still be accountable, still be disciplined, still be consistent. Still, be ready to carry weight. Because covenant doesn't survive on admiration alone, it survives on reliability. So God trains both hearts at once. He trains you to love like builders, not like performers. Now let's address the fear that keeps trying to interrupt the training. What if they change? Yes, people grow. But the real question is not whether they will change. Everyone changes. The real question is whether they have the character to change in the right direction. So stop asking, will they change? And start asking, do they have discipline? Do they have integrity? Do they have accountability? Do they have self-control? Do they handle correction well? Do they keep their word? Do they value responsibility? Do they pursue purpose beyond romance? Because someone with character doesn't change into chaos. They mature into stability. They become more dependable, not less. They become more aligned, not more confusing. And this is where your heart training becomes a superpower. You stop being hypnotized by feelings and you start being guided by patterns. Patterns are louder than promises. Patterns are louder than chemistry. Patterns are louder than opinions. Patterns are the language of truth. That's why God trains your heart to watch what repeats. Now, there's another kind of training many of you are experiencing. God is training you to receive. And that sounds simple, but it's hard for people who have always been the giver. Some of you don't know how to receive without guilt. You receive help and you immediately want to pay it back. You receive kindness and you feel like you owe something. You receive steady love and you start searching for the hidden cost. Because in your past, love always came with conditions. So God trains your heart to sit in healthy love without bracing for punishment. He trains you to receive without suspicion. He trains you to accept consistency without demanding proof every day. He trains you to enjoy peace without rehearsing endings. And the reason this matters is because marriage requires receiving. It requires trust. It requires softness. Not softness without boundaries, softness with discernment. So if you've been feeling like you're learning to relax, learning to stop overthinking, learning to stop controlling outcomes, that is training. Now, here's the moment where your training gets tested the most. When people's voices get loud and you feel tempted to shrink your relationship to avoid being talked about. And angels are correcting that temptation. Don't downgrade your destiny to protect your ego. Don't hide what is healthy because you fear judgment. Don't sabotage peace because you fear opinions. You don't have to announce everything. But you also don't have to live in shame. You can be private without being fearful. You can protect your seed without acting like it's illegal. You can build quietly without giving the crowd access. That's training too. So what do you do when you feel that pressure rising again? You return to fruit. You return to clarity. You return to peace. You return to prayer. You return to structure. And structure looks like this. You communicate consistently. No silent punishment. You keep boundaries, no outside interference. You set expectations, no guessing games. You watch patterns, no fantasy building. You move steadily, no rushing to prove, no retreating to hide. Because a trained heart doesn't get dragged by moods. A trained heart leads. Now let me speak directly to the person who has been scared to believe this could last. You've been telling yourself, don't get too excited, don't hope too much, don't trust too quickly. And that sounds like wisdom, but it's actually fear trying to keep you emotionally unavailable. Fear wants you half present, so you can say, "See, I wasn't all in," if it hurts again. But marriage can't be built by half-present people. So your training is not to become reckless, it's to become whole. Whole enough to love honestly. Whole enough to communicate clearly. Whole enough to set standards without guilt. Whole enough to stop rehearsing heartbreak. And here's the promise in this. The more your heart becomes trained, the more your peace becomes stable. And when your peace becomes stable, you stop losing good things to fear. That's what's happening. That's why your taste is changing. That's why your tolerance is changing. That's why your boundaries are getting stronger. That's why your spirit is craving clarity. That's why you can't pretend anymore. That's why you're outgrowing old cycles. That's why certain people can't access you the way they used to. God is preparing you. And if your spouse is younger, God is preparing you to stop measuring love by society's loudness and start measuring love by heaven's fruit. Because the home God wants you to build will not survive on applause. It will survive on character. So here's your line in the sand today. You will not sabotage what God is training you to carry. You will not confuse peace with boredom. You will not confuse calm with weakness. You will not let age become a shortcut that blinds you to character. You will not let opinions become your compass. You will build with wisdom. You will move with clarity. You will protect your seed. You will keep your standards high. You will be soft and strong at the same time. Now take action while your spirit is awake. Scribe now. Not as a casual click, but as a commitment to your training. Because the moment you disconnect, the old voices get louder, the overthinking returns, and the fear starts narrating again. Staying connected keeps you consistent, and consistency is how your heart becomes trained for covenant. Like this, so it reaches the person who is currently doubting a healthy connection because it looks different than their past. Comment, "My heart is being trained," and let that be your declaration. Share this with someone who keeps walking away from peace because chaos feels familiar. And if you're serious about marriage, and you're serious about becoming the kind of partner who can build a home that lasts, stay here, because this isn't just motivation. This is preparation.